A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the history class. Today we are continuing with the same chapter number 1, the First War of Independence 1857. So far we were discussing the different causes which led to the First War of Independence. Causes like political causes, socio-religious causes, economic causes, and finally military causes. So these were the 4 different causes which we have studied in the last few number of classes. Today we are going to begin with immediate cause, beginning of the uprising, and main events. So these are the 3 main points we are going to study in today's class. So without wasting time, let's move to the class. Introduction of the Enfield rifle. This was the immediate cause behind the beginning of First War of Independence 1857. So the entire background was ready. Now one spark was in need, and that spark was the introduction of the Enfield rifle. And how the introduction of Enfield rifle resulted in the beginning of the First War of Independence. Let's see how it was. In 1856, the British Army or the British administration, they have replaced Brown Bess by Enfield rifle. Brown Bess means it's what a kind of gun used by the soldiers, and they have replaced it by introducing Enfield rifle. But there was a speciality with Enfield rifle. Before loading the gun, while using the cartridge, the soldiers were asked to remove this greased paper with their teeth. But what was the problem? There was a rumor about the use of fat in the new rifle's cartridge. The grease used in the cartridge, there was a rumor about it. What was the rumor? That grease is made out of the fat of cow or pig. And what was the problem with that? Sepoys thought it was to defile Hindus and Muslims, because cow was a sacred animal to Hindus, whereas pigs were considered as a taboo to Muslims. So just because of this reason, both the Hindus and Muslims, they refused to use this particular gun. So it was the immediate cause behind the beginning of First War of Independence 1857, introduction of the Enfield rifle. Beginning of the uprising. On 26 February 1857, 19th Native Infantry at Berhampur in Bengal refused to accept the cartridge. A part of the army, 19th Native Infantry at Berhampur in Bengal, they refused to use the cartridge because due to the rumor, people were, or the soldiers were not ready to use or accept the cartridge, and as a result disbanded as a warning to the others. So this particular part of the army or regiment or the group, it has disbanded as a warning to the other members of the army. But Sepoys, they were having more concern towards their religion, because Sepoys feared about caste and religion. For the Hindus, the grease of cow, they were not able to imagine about it, since cow was a sacred animal for them. And for the Muslims, pigs were taboo for them. So for them also, it was a very big matter of question about their caste and religion. So that's why Sepoys feared about caste and religion. Mangal Pandey, who was an army man, who was a soldier, attacked adjutant of the 34th Native Infantry at Barakpur on March 29, 1857. So what was the first incident? It was under the leadership of Mangal Pandey, or in other words, Mangal Pandey officially started the First War of Independence 1857. What he did, he attacked a battalion, a group of regiment or army, native infantry at Barrackpur on March 29, 1857. As a result, what had happened? He was executed after court martial. He was sentenced to death due to his indisciplinary behavior. So he was executed after court martial. For his fellow sepoys, he became a martyr, the first person who sacrificed his life for the freedom of our country. It was Mangal Pandey. Okay, now the main events of the First War of Independence, 1857. In different parts of India, number of events took place, and here we are going to study the different main events of the First War of Independence, 1857. Events at Meerut. Meerut was an important place in India during that time where the First War of Independence broke out. Okay, news about Bengal spread everywhere. What had happened in Bengal? What had happened to Mangal Pandey? All these kinds of messages spread all over the country, everywhere. Indian sepoys were not ready for any kinds of compromise. That's why on May 9th, 85 sepoys refused to touch the cartridge. It was something like a small spark. Now it started to spread like flame. So on May 9th, 85 sepoys refused to use or touch the cartridge and got 10 years rigorous imprisonment. So to these 85 sepoys who were refused to use the cartridge, they got imprisonment for 10 years. On May 10th, sepoys rushed to jail and set their comrades free. So what happened? On May 9th, 85 sepoys refused to use the cartridge, and on May 10th, rest of the fellow men or the other sepoys of the same army, they rushed to jail and set their friends free who were imprisoned for 10 years. Now let's see what had happened at Delhi. After the incident at Meerut, let's see what had happened at Delhi. Soldiers from Meerut came to Delhi. So some of the soldiers from Meerut, they have traveled to Delhi in order to organize people at Delhi. Soldiers from Meerut came to Delhi. With the help of a local infantry, seized the city. They have captured, they have took over the charge of Delhi with the help of some local administration. Declared Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah as Emperor of India. Once they captured the Delhi, they have declared the last emperor of Mughal, Bahadur Shah, as the emperor of the whole India. He was caused to write to all rulers to organize against British. So they requested him. As per their request, he has written to number of rulers of different part of the country to organize against British. But Sir John Nicholson recaptured Delhi after 4 months. The people who seized the city, they got only 4 months to rule Delhi, to organize against the British. After 4 months, Sir John Nicholson has recaptured Delhi. And what he did? After recapturing Delhi, he found Bahadur Shah guilty because he has sent messages to number of rulers to organize against the British. So he found guilty, and right in front of him, his 2 sons were shot dead as a punishment to Bahadur Shah. Sentenced to life imprisonment, deported to Myanmar. So what had happened? Bahadur Shah has sentenced for life imprisonment. That's why he just fled to Myanmar and died in 1862. Okay, so these were the different incidents which happened at Delhi. Now let's see what were the different events took place at Lucknow. Begum Hashrat Mahal, wife of Nawab of Awadh, led an uprising at Lucknow on 30th May 1857. We have already studied about Awadh, and the British administration, they have taken the charge of Awadh by allied misrule. We have already studied it. Okay, so the wife of Nawab of Awadh, Hashrat Mahal, she has made some plans to fight against the British and started an uprising at Lucknow on 30th May 1857. City recaptured by British in March 1858. So after 1 year, almost after 1 year, the British administration, they have recaptured the city Lucknow. She fled towards Nepal. Once she lost the power, once the British people recaptured the city, she just escaped from there towards Nepal. Let's see what had happened at Kanpur. Along with the other locations, at Kanpur also some incidents took place. Struggle for independence led by Nana Sahib at Kanpur. I hope you might be remembering the personality Nana Sahib, who left Pune, live at Kanpur, who was away from his family due to the different rules introduced by the British. So he used his wealth to spread the message of nationalism. He just used his wealth to organize people against the British. So as a result, he, with the help of a group of people, started to fight against British, struggle for independence under the leadership of Nana Sahib at Kanpur. The British surrendered it in June 1857. But the British people, they have surrendered to Nana Sahib by 1857. Infuriated mob, they have captured Englishmen, women and children. So the people who were with Nana Sahib, they lost their control. The infuriated mob, they have captured a huge number of people, including Englishmen, women and children. But in December 1857, Nana Sahib was defeated by the British administration, British army, and he fled towards Nepal. His general escaped to Kalpi. So these were the things which had happened in the life of Nana Sahib, as well as that incident which took place at Kanpur. See what were the different incidents that had happened in the central part of India. There was a battle at Jhansi in June 1857 between the British and the ruler of Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai. Sir Hugh Ross marched to the fortress of Jhansi. So he decided to capture Jhansi and he led an army towards the Jhansi. Rani Lakshmi Bai resisted the movement but failed in the war. That's why she escaped from there at the night of April 4th, 1858 to join Thandya Thope at Kalpi. So in order to save the people, she just escaped from Jhansi and decided to join Thandya Thope at Kalpi, who also was fighting against the British. It was in April 4th, 1858. She died in the war against the British on June 17th, 1858 at Gwalior. Again, she came back to India to fight against the British, and in the war between the British and Jhansi Rani, she died on June 17, 1858 at Gwalior. Thandya Thope, who also was fighting against the British, who was fighting against the activities of the British, betrayed by Man Singh, who was his commander, who was his trustee, who betrayed Thandya Thope, and that's why Thandya Thope hanged on 18th April 1859. Now, the other centers of this movement: First War of Independence, 1857. Then, Bareilly Khan Bahadur, former ruler of Kakiahad. So, he struck against the British. It was one another center of the First War of Independence, 1857. Then, Bihar, Khawar Singh, who was the Zamindar of Jagadishpur, also was fighting against the British, and he organized some people to fight against the British at Bihar. Then again, next one is Waziabad, Maulavi Ahmadullah, who aroused Muslim community against the British. So Waziabad was a center where people organized under the leadership of Maulavi Ahmadullah to fight against the British. And several states rose against British policies. Number of rulers and number of states started to fight against the British. They decided, they joined the First War of Independence 1857. Many rulers remained loyal to British, but their soldiers rose against British. So some of the rulers were supporting the British, they were loyal to the British, but at the same time their army men, their soldiers were not ready to follow their rulers, but rather they were interested in making India free from the British. Common people fought with axes, spears and arrows. They were using common things which were very common in the society. It was axes, spears and arrows. By using these kinds of weapons, even the common people took part in the First War of Independence 1857. So dear students, I hope you have got a clear idea about these particular points, and we will be continuing the topic in the next class. And in the next class we will be discussing about the consequences of First War of Independence. Still we meet in the next class with the next topic. I would like to sign off. Thank you.